The issue at hand with GDPR is that many people believe that GDPR is about security, but really what the issue is that it's about a shift in the perception of ownership of the data. The EU has clearly stated that citizens own their personally identifiable information, and that is driving a huge change in enterprises and how they deal with that type of responsibility. They have to begin to expose that permissions to the citizens of the EU and enable people to manage and control that information based on their own preferences, not on the preference of the enterprise that is holding that information on behalf of the EU citizens. So this is a big change, particularly in North America or the United States, where companies are used to getting information about participants in the marketplace, audiences, potential customers, their own customers, and holding that data as if they own it. So that mind shift is a huge change in the marketplace. So what are businesses missing in the GDPR conversation? One of the key elements that we see in our research here at Technology Business Research is that enterprises really need to begin to shift their perception around the nature of data. This isn't really a technical question. This is a question around how you manage data on behalf of the customer. Enterprises will react in one of three ways in response to the GDPR. The first is that they need to change their perception, really, around the nature of data in their enterprise. I've mentioned that a couple of times, but we see it persistently in the research that there are people in the enterprise who have the ownership of data. And this is really a key change for enterprises, that you're now a custodian and not an owner of personally identifiable information. Second part is the chain of management, the chain of custody for data management and the personally identifiable information. Being able to establish the clear chain of custody for how that flows through your enterprise, and how, when an EU citizen requests it, you can be forgotten or change your subscription requirements per the notice, is really very, very powerful and persistent. So changing your processes is important. And then finally, beginning to build a trust relationship with your audience and with the people who are giving you the personally identifiable information, whether they're leads or customers, again, is a key component of the full spirit of the GDPR. What enterprises, particularly those enterprises that don't do a lot of business in the EU, probably need to bear in mind is that this is a regulation that's more about the relationship between the enterprise and the customer than a technology piece. It's not necessarily about security, it's about data management and custodianship. We're a couple of months away from the actual go-live moment for GDPR in May of 2018. At this point in time, we see a lot of vendors going through the technical stages of deploying their solutions. They've been in the background working on different solutions or policies. Several of the very large vendors actually still haven't completely rolled out their GDPR compliance suites yet. So this is a difficult time for an enterprise if you're looking for your provider to be compliant. Not every firm has made those technology changes, but some of them are actually ahead of the game and have been working with the EU for a long time. And one of the things that we suggest is that enterprises look to a firm that has a strong EU relationship and who has made the progress in building out the technology changes, just to make sure that they're compliant and have a good head start on the enactment of these regulations. GDPR is really just an early example of some global changes that we see happening around consumer data. Consumers are empowering themselves through their legislators to be able to manage their personal data. That's how it's happening in the EU. In the US, we see consumers reacting with ad blockers, and we see firms like Google and others reacting by giving them a little bit more power around how their data is seen and used. This trend will continue, and we see a new partnership based around trust emerging for firms in the ad tech space and the consumers. And a broker of trust is a very valuable thing. So we see that the firms that are engaged in this space that are going to win 5 years out are the ones that really give the consumer a strong control over their personal information and can demonstrate that so that they can build trust.